What's up, people? Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. As promised, we're back with all of the latest breaking news. Got a massive story coming out in the last few minutes from Samuel Luckhurst, who writes for the Manchester Evening News. And Samuel Luckhurst is saying the following. Manchester United have decided to loan out Mason Greenwood this summer. Erik ten Hag is reluctant to sell the forward. So as it stands, guys, Erik ten Hag does not want Mason Greenwood to leave the club. And the club have decided that Mason Greenwood will be loaned out this summer. He will not be playing for Manchester United next summer. That has been all but confirmed by Samuel Luckhurst today. They will be loaning him out next summer. I know we spoke about this multiple times before. I know Mason Greenwood has been a topic that has been discussed over and over again for the last 12, 18 months. But it has now been confirmed from Samuel Luckhurst that Manchester United will loan him out this summer. They will not release him from his contract. They will not sell him. He will be loaned out. The story does actually get a bit more interesting than that, though. The story goes on to say that John Murtough has been discussing with Atalanta about Mason Greenwood going on loan to Atalanta and then Rasmus Hojlund coming to us. There are even some reports coming out of Italy today saying Mason Greenwood has reached an agreement with Atalanta. He will be in Atalanta on Tuesday. He has said no to Juventus to join Atalanta. There's another story coming in saying that, where is it? That John Murtough has held extensive talks with Atalanta officials and has discussed a possible deal to sign Rasmus Hojlund and loan Greenwood to Atlanta. That's coming in from Samuel Luckhurst, who obviously writes for the Manchester Evening News. So as it stands, guys, Mason Greenwood will not be a Manchester United player next season. He will be out on loan, and it does look like he's going to go to Atalanta as part of the Rasmus Hojlund deal. It'll be a straight loan. Rasmus Hojlund will come to us. We'll obviously buy him, but part of that deal, Mason Greenwood will go and play for one season at Atalanta in the Serie A, which I think is a good move for him. I've discussed my personal feelings towards Mason Greenwood many times before, so I'm not going to get into that. But I do think in the current situation, that is the best move. That's the best decision for everybody. And if it helps us get Rasmus Hojlund over the line, then I do think that's a really, really good idea. I think it will be the best for Mason to go there, to have almost no pressure, to start again at a club with relatively low expectations, relatively low media exposure. If he come back into Manchester United next season, guys, it would have been absolutely unbearable. It would have. It would have been absolutely unbearable for Erik ten Hag and for the rest of the players. It would have been such a distraction. And I think this is the right decision. So hats off to John Murtough and Manchester United for doing this. Again, I would have personally released him, but I think we've gone way past the point of releasing him, guys. If they were going to release him, they would have released him the day after the charges were dropped. They didn't decide to do that, so we've got to move forward. Obviously, it's not up to me or you to decide whether Mason Greenwood plays for Manchester United again. That's a decision out of our hands. But I do think this is positive in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, it will help us get Rasmus Hojlund, which is great because we want Rasmus Hojlund. He can go there. They'll pay his wages. Mason Greenwood will have a fresh start in Serie A. And if he does well, then maybe they'll buy him off us, you know? If he doesn't do well, then happy days. It's almost like we've dodged a bullet there, because imagine if he goes there and does terribly, then, you know, there's no risk for us. Whereas if we bring him back to the Premier League and he doesn't do well, it just doesn't make sense on any level whatsoever. So I am happy about that. I do think it's the best move for the player, and I am excited that Rasmus Hojlund will most likely join Manchester United as part of this deal. Please do smash a like on the video, guys. As promised, we always do go live when there is breaking news, as we've done now. This is a notable bit of breaking news that I did want to bring to you. Ultimately, it does look like Mason Greenwood is almost being used as part of the deal, kind of. So Atalanta will obviously need a new striker because Rasmus Hojlund's leaving. So they're getting a similar profile with Mason Greenwood, a young striker, someone who can come in and probably would do quite well in the Italian league. John Murtough has apparently been the one leading up this deal, and the story that's coming out from Samuel Luckhurst in the last 10 minutes or so is that John Murtough has been holding extensive talks with Atalanta officials and has discussed a possible deal to sign Rasmus Hojlund and loan Greenwood to the Serie A club in exchange. So Mason Greenwood will be a straight loan to Atalanta. Manchester United will then pay a transfer fee to Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund. believed to be around £50 million, but obviously we'll have to wait and see when the official bid goes in. But it is positive. It's good to see that we are, you know, advancing other deals. We're not just doing our usual where we only focus on one deal, which we seem to do every single transfer window. So I do think this is a positive. I do think it's good for Mason Greenwood's career. We can obviously, in a year's time, once he's been there, we can have a proper think about it. We can see what's going to happen with him. Maybe you'll sell him to somebody. At the end of the day, guys, we're owned by the Glazers. The Glazers care about money, and letting go of Mason Greenwood, right, is not an option for them. It's not. He's an asset. I mean, how much would a in prime Mason Greenwood be worth? 50 to 100 million pounds, probably. You know, if we went back 18 months ago to when he was doing really well for Manchester United, how much do you think Manchester United valued him at then? I'd say at least 50 million pounds. I would. If Rasmus Hojlund's worth 50, then Mason Greenwood in his prime was worth 50, definitely. So Manchester United have this 50 million pound asset sat on their books, doing nothing, and the Glazers are never going to release someone like that from the club, are they? So at the end of the day, this is a Glazer type decision. It is. Some people will be happy about this. I've said before, I think we should have released him, but it's gone way past the point of releasing him now, guys. Manchester United have committed to him, and this is the right decision. It is. It's the right decision at this current moment, given the current circumstances. I think it's good for Mason's career. I think it's good that we get to bring Rasmus Hojlund to us. Obviously, Manchester United and Atalanta have a really good relationship. We bought Amad Diallo off them quite recently. We've always had a good relationship with Atalanta. So I do think this makes sense. I do. There's not going to be any pressure on him playing in Serie A. I don't think he'll get the media pressure that he would have got here. I think he'll kind of go under the radar a little bit if he goes off to Serie A. I really do. I don't think fans will be giving him a hard time over there because it's not really something that's been in the Italian news. It's a very much an English story, you know, the court case around Mason Greenwood. I honestly think it will go under the radar, him playing in Serie A. So on that level, it does make sense. I can see why they've done that because, as I've said on multiple videos before, Mason Greenwood in the Premier League next season, on all levels, is an absolute mistake. It would have been such a distraction for Ten Hag, such a distraction for the other players. Every single game, all of the focus would have been on Mason Greenwood. Should he be playing? Is it right? Etc. etc. So I do think in the grand scheme of things, this is the best thing to do. People asking, is this happening? So the story's coming out from Samuel Luckhurst, who obviously writes for the Manchester Evening News. He is he's the Manchester United correspondent for the Manchester Evening News, okay? So until we get it 100% confirmed, anything can happen. But the exact quote is, coming from Samuel Luckhurst, is John Murtough has held extensive talks with Atalanta officials and has discussed a deal to sign Rasmus Hojlund and loan Greenwood to Serie A. And Atalanta are up for this. That's what's kind of being reported. Goes on to say, Manchester United have decided to loan out Mason Greenwood this summer. Erik ten Hag is reluctant to sell the forward. So ultimately, Erik ten Hag doesn't want to sell him. He's contracted until 2025 with an option of 1 more year. So Mason Greenwood ultimately has 3 more years left on his contract, guys. That's probably why they don't want to sell him. He's got 3 more years left on his contract. He is an asset to Manchester United. Whatever you think about him personally, the Glazers just see him as a 50 to 100 million pounds asset sat there, you know, doing nothing. So I can see why they've made this decision. Whether I agree with it or not is not really up for discussion. That's not really, you know, what I'm here to do. But please do smash a like on the video, guys. It was only a really quick one to bring you this big bit of breaking news. As soon as we get the news on Onana, we will, of course, go live. So do subscribe. Do hit the notification bell. Do let me know in the live chat and in the comments how you feel about the Mason Greenwood situation. Are you happy with this? You know, would you like to see him in the Premier League next season? What do you think about this one? Obviously, I know it's a sensitive subject, so please be respectful. I've said my piece on it many, many times before, so I'm not going to repeat it again now because you'll probably get bored of it. But I do think, given the current circumstances, ultimately it's not my decision, but I do think this does make the most sense. I really, really do. So if we can get Rasmus Hojlund through the door and they're happy to take Mason Greenwood, then I think it makes sense. I really, really do, guys. I'm going to wrap the video up there, guys. Please do smash a like on the video on your way out. I will be back at 6 p.m. today for an hour-long show. Well, obviously, we'll read out your comments and do all the interactive stuff. But if anything breaks between now and 6 p.m., of course, I will go live. So do subscribe, do hit the notification bell, and please smash a like on the video on your way out. Lots of love, guys. I'll catch you guys a little bit later on. Peace out.